Hello and welcome to XOMO. In today's video, as you can see by the title, I'll be talking about protective tools and protective materials that should be, in your spiritual toolkit, your hoodoo kit, your root work kit, just to help you spiritually protect yourself. The first part of the video went over crystals for protection. This part will be for tools and things that you probably have around your house. And the third part will be for actual rituals. I'll share 2 or 3 rituals that you can do to help protect yourself spiritually. It's going to be pretty straightforward, but make sure you follow me and hit the notification bell. I am a professional tarot reader, astrologer, and actor. If you want to tap into more pick-a-card readings or tarot of that sort, you can follow me for that. Or you can also run down to momagics.com to get a private reading with me. So the first thing that I want to let you know is that you don't really need anything. I think that the best things that you can have is your intention and your prayer. You know what I mean? With all these tools I'm going to be sharing with you today, you're going to need your attention and your prayers right along with it, right? Like work without faith, or like faith without works is dead. So make sure that you have your belief, your spirit, and your prayer right along with you, because they're going to be the, you know what I mean? Honestly, I think that they're going to be the centerpiece to any of the practices you'll be having as far as your protection goes, right? Additionally, I don't want people to feel like that they have to go get a bunch of like tools or things to protect themselves spiritually. This list, again, is many of these things are things that you should probably have around your house, but if you do want to go out and purchase some things, by all means, go do it, right? So the first thing on the list is a protective oil. So I personally like tea tree oil, but I also find that every person, they vibe with a specific oil, right? Like I have some friends that use lavender. I also know some people that use camphor oil. If you're looking for an oil around the house, coconut oil and olive oil work great. They've worked great for me in the past. Coconuts are good for protection, as are olives, right? And then the way that you're going to use these, you can use these as just as you would any protective or blessing oil. You can also find these at your favorite metaphysical shop, at Botanica, or if you have a favorite like hoodoo worker or root worker that you know online, I recommend getting one of those from their shop as well. But yeah, oils can be used for pretty much anything. You can bless things, you can bless your space, your body, putting it on your temples, on the base of your skull, you know what I mean? Putting it on like a talisman or a charm, which leads me into the next thing. Accessories, talismans, charms, or protective things. They can be anything. They could be like a protective like symbol, like maybe like a pentacle or a cross. Those things definitely count. But even if it's not something like that, like a simple accessory, a bracelet, a necklace, earring that you bless with a blessing oil, or you put a protective oil on it, you know what I mean? Or you say a prayer around it, boom. All of a sudden you have a protective charm, bracelet, necklace, whatever have you, right? So that's something else you can do. What else? So yeah, the oils, you can use them from pretty much anything. And then the charms, you can put those on your body, your ears to, to bless the things that you hear, or just your body in general. That's what I would do. What else do we have? Something else I'm going to be talking about before we continue to move on is like how I energetically perceive protection, right? And then I'll talk about it throughout this, but I kind of perceive it in a couple of different ways. One way I perceive like spiritual protection is that there's actually like protection, like you actually create like a barrier that things cannot penetrate, right? Another form of protection is a little more offensive, right? Like if something is coming towards you, the tool or the energy pushes things away and it fights them off, and it tells them to go away, right? Another, or I guess like a kind of like middle ground, is that like protective things that like things may be coming towards you, but there's a protective energy that guides things away. You know what I mean? Or even obscures your energy. So if something is coming your way, it'll push it away, or to a way it can't like penetrate or see your energy. And then also there are things, spiritual tools and things that like absorb and neutralize, right? It'll take on that negative energy and it'll actually neutralize it. When you're working with energies like that, I don't recommend, like I speak about this in the crystal video, so make sure you go watch that if you haven't already. But obsidian is really good for like that type of spiritual protection where it draws in everything, or draws in those negative energies and neutralizes them, right? So if you're working with a Griggly Bag or an obsidian, or whatever it is, but that that's the type of energy that you're working with, I don't recommend keeping that on your person. If I am working with like obsidian, I usually keep it like in the back of my car, or in a bag or like a backpack, but I won't wear it as an accessory on my body, right? Just because sometimes like obsidian can be quite powerful in the way that it draws in everything, and if it's too close to your person, you know what I mean, you may draw on some of that physical energy, right? But moving on to the next thing. So the next tool I wanted to talk about is salt. Salt is great. Salt is kind of like the crystal catch-all, if you will, for me, or like the equivalent to the clear quartz where you can program it to do anything. But salt can be used, you know, to draw protective barriers. You can do like a salt circle around a ritual that you may be doing. Excuse me. You can sprinkle it in the corners of your room, at your doorways and your window frames type of thing. Again, like salt, again, you can program it to do whatever you need it to do. But I find that salt, it's kind of like an anchoring thing. That's kind of why I like to put salt in my Epsom salt baths. For whatever magic or blessing or spells that I say over that bath water, I know that my body is going to absorb them via the salt because the body absorbs salt, right? So yeah, salt is definitely something you want to have in your toolkit. Similarly, black salt. You can make your own black salt by, infusing charcoal, which is another protective material that you could be using, and regular salt, and maybe some ashes of specific herbs or something like that. That will work as well. Whereas like salt is like your anchor of your protective spell or your protective energy or the blessing you're doing. Black salt to me, like energetically feels like again, depending on what materials you put in it, because like the black salt I use also has dragon's blood. I'll speak more about that shortly. But black salt, to me, it very much feels like a neutralizer. Like it'll call things in, it'll neutralize them. So that's why I use black salt. And the way that you use black salt, you can use it in all the ways that you use like white salt. But I only use black salt for protective things, where it's just, like sometimes I'll use regular salt, for like a good luck spell or like a love spell or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, going on to the black salt, the charcoal mix, if you do make it on your own, I guess the next thing that I wanted to say actually was about the dragon's blood. Because what I do is like with the black salt that I make, I put dragon's blood in it. Dragon's blood, it's probably one of my favorite protective like materials. It's a red resin that comes from a tree. It's kind of like a tree sap, but it's red. But you can also use, dragon's blood's incense, which is a lot more accessible, I find. But the reason why I love dragon's blood, because it really is your one-stop shop for protection, I find. Dragon's blood is really good at like creating a protective barrier. It'll also absorb, but it will also push away. That's why I love dragon's blood. And I will also put dragon's blood incense inside of my own black salt mixture. Yeah, so dragon's blood is a really good one. So this one I do when I'm spiritually foraging. A lot of people don't think about it, but thorns, right? When you think about protection in nature, anything that's used to protect in nature can be used in like your personal realm, right? So thorns. So a lot of people don't think about them that way, but I definitely will use thorns if I'm having like a protective ritual. Or if, I'm going out spiritually foraging and, I find a plant whose energy I'm likened to, and I ask if I could take, a twig or a branch that's already on the floor near the plant near me. I was like, hey, talk to the plant. Hey, if I give you an offering, do you mind assisting me in my protection rituals? I've never had an issue. But yeah, highly recommend using some thorns. Yeah, this is a thorn that I just have as a part of my practice. I take it from like altar to altar to space to space. But yeah, it's like when you look at it, it looks like it'll protect you, right? And there's a little bit of that bouncy, that fighting back energy, right? What else? Knowledge is power. Knowledge, you know what I mean? I think like, again, I would highly recommend you do your own research whenever you tap into your spirituality and you think about protection. I would definitely say like talk to your ancestors or any of your elders, anybody in your lineage, and just find out what's good for you, right? Because some tools, some herbs, some materials, if they're abundant in the area of the world that you're living in, I would go to those. You know what I mean? Like for like thorns, you know what I mean? If thorns aren't really native to the area that you're in, I'm sure everybody can find like roses anywhere. But like if you can find a rose that's native to the area you're living in, I'm more than positive that rose will have better protective properties for you than, some rose that's being transported from, I don't know, 150 miles away, if you will, just as an example. So yeah, knowledge is power, knowing what you're doing. But also I say knowledge because the next thing I was going to bring up was like colors, knowing your spiritual color theory. Again, knowing all the colors and how they work are going to help you, but the colors white and black. I'm going to start off with white. So the color white, you know what I mean? When we think about the color white, even in nature, you know what I mean? white doesn't really absorb anything. It doesn't really attract anything. It kind of stands on its own. And, you know, in some cultures, it's seen as like pure and empty and white and light and clean, that type of thing, right? Even wearing white clothing would be really good. I know in some like religions or traditions, you know, people wear white just as a way, you know, to cleanse their spirit, you know, to start fresh, to start anew, and to open up a new chapter, right? What, like, I think in the Ifa tradition, there's a year of white. I could be wrong, but like, if I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me in comment section. I'm not an expert. Or even when people take baptisms, you know, in the Christian tradition, you know, people get baptized in white gowns. Yeah. After that, the color black, right? Like, black again for me energetically works different than the color white. Where like white is clean, it's pure, and that can work as a form of protection. Black for me, if I'm going to wear black, it's more of an obscuring thing that I was talking about earlier. When I wear the color black, it may be because I'm going out somewhere, or I need to pick up some bank dirt or some graveyard dirt, or I'm going to drop something, you know, in a specific location, and I don't want my energy to be seen, or want my energy to be obscured. You know what I mean? What onyx, sardonyx, and onyx are stones that I would use that for. Again, of course, like crystal should be a part of your protective toolkit, but I already have that video, so check out that video. But that's how I see the color black, because like, as opposed to the color white, you know, the color black kind of absorbs everything. Again, when we think about it in the real world and in nature, the color black absorbs everything and it can attract everything. So you want to make sure that if you are wearing all black, that you have the right mindset, the intention, the protective ritual, that if you are attracting a lot of energies, that they're being neutralized, or that you have another crystal or another one of these tools or rituals, you know what I mean, to go along with wearing all black. Because I've seen sometimes that people that wear all black, they unconsciously absorb a lot, and it kind of drains their energy. So do be careful with the color black, I will say. After that, knives, right? Do I have one here? Yes, I have a little pocket knife, right? So like knife, or like a scythe, or like some type of carving material. You know what I mean? People will have like a knife or something, you know, to write in their candles, or to like cut, you know what I mean, certain herbs or stems or roots or something like that. But you definitely want to have one of these, because just as a spiritual tool in your toolbox for the reasons I mentioned earlier, but energetically, if you are doing a protective spell or ritual, there are two ways that you can do it. One is by giving it to your guides, you know what I mean, your ancestors, spirit guides, whatever deities you might be working with. Like, here's a tool I'm providing you with, you know, to like, if you have any warrior spirits on your team, you know what I mean? It's like, here's a tool you can use to defend me in the other realm. Alternatively, if you're doing a spell or ritual yourself, I've had very good success with like protective rituals, where I would like use a knife to like energetically cut things, right? This is just a pocket knife. It's not one of my ritual knives. But energetically, you know, you meditate and you think about cutting through and slicing through the energy that may be harming you, or may not mean you well, or isn't for your highest and greatest good, right? Using that to energetically cut, and then like the physical representation is going to help you. Or even cut cording ceremonies, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people do them with 2 candles in a row, but I feel like if you, with the right intention and a knife, you can energetically cut the cord yourself, right? Up next, and again, this is some of that more offensive energy, and moving on, is cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is great. I love cayenne pepper. I work with cayenne pepper all the time. I know some people use it in like hexes and curses and that type of thing. That's not my John. I'd rather just do a protective spell, or like a banishing, or like a return to sender type of moment. But yes, cayenne pepper, when you add it to a ritual, it gives that more like fighting off, attacking, keep this at bay, make it run away type of energy and vibe. And again, it's red, so that hot, fiery passion, sometimes anger, rage, savage energy can come through with the color red. Aloe is like, I love aloe, you know what I mean? This is something you can use in a spell or a ritual. I've never used it that way, but keeping it in the house, aloe will do its job just because it's aloe, right? And again, when I spoke earlier about the thorns, if you look at an aloe plant, they have those spikes along the lines of the aloe plant, right? Those spikes are protective, but aloe is also, you know, it attracts good luck. It's a lucky plant. It attracts abundance. Aloe is an amazing plant, and you can just keep it around your house for protective reasons. And it'll do its job. And again, you know, if there's a certain intention or thing that you want to protect, write it down on a petition, plant it in the soil of the aloe plant, and be sure to protect the plant and take care of it, right? that'll lead me to the next thing of like cacti and cactuses, right? Cactuses are really good. Again, there's spikes, there's thorns, there's stickers, there's hooks. You know, I'm from Las Vegas, so I know all about cacti. Cacti are something that you can have on your front porch, on your back porch, you know, sometimes on your window sills if you're that type of person. Um, but yeah, again, for the same reasons, you know, I think that cacti are a lot more protective energetically at keeping things at bay from your home. So I would, in my opinion, I would say put them in your front yard, put them in your backyard, you know what I mean? Keep them on the outside of your house. You can bring them inside and they'll continue to protect from inside the house as well, right? But again, energetically, say the blessing, say the prayer, and they can keep things at bay, right? These are the things that I have experience with. I do have a couple of more things, a couple of like herbs that I haven't worked with specifically, but I have heard things about. Rosemary and basil, right? These are more protective herbs, you know, that you can crush them up and like in combination with your protective oil, or you can make a protective oil with these things inside of them, right? Or set it up with a candle, right? Crush them up and then, you know, rub the oil on the side of the candle and then put these herbs in it, right? Again, think about the herbs you could be using. Amber essential oil. Amber essential oil, it's kind of like a resin of like trees and clove, right? These are some more things that I've heard about using. I haven't used them, but again, I'm just saying, try these out, do some research, you know, and then see how they vibe with you in your protective rituals and practices. And then last but not least, we have like, I know I spoke earlier about like talismans and charms, I'm sorry, but you can also use a Griggly bag. A Griggly bag, you know what I mean, is something like this or like a hoodoo bag. They have a couple of different names. I call them Griggly bags or mojo bags. Mojo bag was the other word I was looking for. You can just get a bunch of these. Now these themselves are not protective because they can be used for anything. But like you can fill like this bag with so many of the things that we're talking about today. You could pop a protective crystal, you could throw some herb, you can rope a talisman or a charm with some of that oil on it, a petition with a prayer, some of that black salt, tie it up, say a prayer, you know, ask for an offering from your guides, and boom, there you have a protective thing. There are two other things I want to talk about. Again, put this in your bag, in your purse. I'm sorry, I'm moving kind of quickly. I want to talk about frankincense and Florida water. I have some Florida water right here. I don't have any frankincense with me at the moment, but I don't necessarily use these for protection, but you can use them for protection. And I'm bringing them up because my guides are telling me to talk about them in this video. Because the thing is, like, when I think about protection, I don't necessarily think about like Florida water and frankincense. Although when I'm doing my ritual work, I always use Florida water and or frankincense, right? Because when it comes to these two things, they heighten my connection to my guides and they can heighten your connection to your guides, and you can use them as offerings to, you know, your spirits, your deities, ancestors, spirit guides, and angels, so on and so forth. Thus heightening the magic, thus heightening the protection of whatever spell you may be doing. Right? So like, I wouldn't use these specifically for protection, even though you definitely can. I'm not saying that you can't or that they wouldn't work for those things. I'm just saying that I use them because whenever I do my protective work, I'm calling in my ancestors, spirit guides, and angels, and I use Florida water and frankincense as an offering to them, and also to heighten the connection, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a package deal. It's like a 2-for-1. You know what I mean? I use it as an offering. I use it as a blessing oil to purify some things, but it also works as protection because I'm calling in the people, the things, and the spirits that are going to, in return, protect me, right? Hey, y'all. So I'm just sitting here editing this video, and I just forgot one thing that I needed to tell y'all, and that is like another like protective tool is like spiritual text, like any sacred text. That could be your Bible, the Book of Psalms, the Kabbalah, you know, the Quran, whatever like sacred text it is. Most of them do have a scripture or two or some sacred text or language about protection. You know what I mean? That's, you know, highly recommend keeping one of those around, and even just keeping those on your altar or around your spiritual like protection space. It's going to be helpful. Yeah. So that was it. I just wanted to make sure that I came in and told y'all that, and that I didn't leave it out of this video because they are very important. But that's all. Okay, so that's all I have for you. This video was a little longer than I expected. But let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section. Also, be free to let me know, you know, if there's anything that you use that I haven't spoken about, you know, that you would share. I would love to hear what y'all are using and maybe try out some new tools or materials in the comment section. Remember that this is a 3-part series, and if you want to see what tools or things that I'm using or what actual like rituals I'm using to protect myself, be sure to follow me and hit that subscribe button so that you get a notification when that video comes out. That's all I have for you on today, and until next time, this is XMO. Bye.